All right, hello, folks. This is a short analysis of the Week 5 pick'em we did on the Cheap Seats podcast. If you didn't end up watching the full episode, this is a good way to get kind of what we said in a short form and kind of just a little capsule. So we'll go ahead and dive right into it. I had myself, Bryce, Nick, and Dalton in the last episode of Cheap Seats podcast. It was a banger, so if you didn't check it out, I would. But starting out the week, Thursday Night Football, Chicago at Washington. After the Bears imploded, three of us ended up going with the Commanders, and Dalton was the only one to go with the Bears. Following that, Carolina versus Detroit we have, and everyone goes with Detroit in that game after a convincing win against the Packers on Thursday Night Football, and the Carolina Panthers being winless, so that it really doesn't play in their favor. After that, we had Houston at Atlanta, with three of us going with the Texans and one of us going with the Falcons. Honestly, I could see this game going either way, though. CJ Stroud has definitely been a big part of the Texans offense, though, and convinced me quite a bit, as well as a lot of my colleagues. So after that, we had the Giants taking on Miami. Pretty easy pick right here. Everyone goes with the Dolphins at home. Dolphins have been killer at home this year, so I wouldn't go against the Dolphins in this situation. I wouldn't really be too convinced by the Giants after they got sacked 11 times on Monday Night Football. So after that, the Jets versus Denver. Three of us go with the Jets, and Bryce being the lone one going with the Broncos. Zach Wilson played very good against the Chiefs and was quite convincing, and the Broncos came back and won against the Bears, but we do not think it's going to be enough to topple the Jets. After that, upset game of the week, basically, with three of us picking the Rams over the Eagles in LA. Not sure how I feel about this in retrospect, but a lot of us were feeling the hype behind this Rams team, behind Puka Nakua, behind Matt Stafford, and we think they could probably sneak one out here from the Eagles. After that, New Orleans taking on the Patriots. We all go with the Saints in this game, even though they lost to the Bucks last week, but the Patriots have an issue at quarterback with Mac Jones, and they were stomped the week before, so pretty easy pick to go with the Saints there. Baltimore versus Pitt. After that, three of us end up going with Baltimore, Nick being the lone one going with the Steelers. Baltimore won against the Browns the week prior, and the Steelers lost to the Texans, and they just lost Pat Fryermuth too for about 2 to 3 weeks. So might be an issue for the Steelers. Going to be a tough game, but they do have the advantage of being at home. Baltimore most likely will go in there and take care of business. Next up after that, during the 3 o'clock slate, we had the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Arizona Cardinals in the desert. We ended up splitting this one 2-2, which might come to a surprise if you saw this at the start of the year, but the Bengals really just have been that bad after losing to the Titans the week prior. And the Cardinals losing to the Niners, but not necessarily in the largest fashion. So we end up splitting that one for the better, for the worse. Following that, Kansas City in a clean sweep over Minnesota. We have Vikings came off a win against the Panthers, but we don't think it's going to be enough. So we picked the Chiefs in this game, and the Swifties will probably get another one to be happy about. After that, three of us go with Buffalo over the Jacksonville and London, Nick being the lone one going with the Jaguars. The thoughts about this one, I'm assuming here, were Nick was saying that the Jaguars basically are at home. They're playing their second game in London, so he thinks they have the higher up advantage here. Although the rest of us think the Bills are just going to carry on the momentum they had against the Dolphins and go ahead and take care of business there. All right, next hard count heroes game of the week: Tennessee versus Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson back at the helm for the Colts. They lost in overtime originally to the Rams, but we don't think that's going to deter them from picking up a win this week against the Titans. Nick, once again, which seems to be a common trend, is the lone picker of the Titans. He has seemed to go against the grain quite a bit in these matchups. But I think this one could go either way. It's going to be a very interesting one, but a lot of us have put our faith in the Colts. Following that, probably the most competitive game of the week: Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. We end up splitting 2-2 on this, me and Dalton going for the Cowboys, and Bryce and Nick going for the Niners. I would say the Niners are favored in this game, especially with their run game they have with CMC, and everything's been cooking for them quite recently, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys are able to go in here and sneak one out against the Niners. Final game of the week, Monday Night Football. Packers going to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Raiders, I'm not sure if they're still going to be down Jimmy G, but it doesn't matter for us as we go for a clean sweep with the Packers. 4-0 on that one. So Packers are going to look to rebound. Jordan Love looking to get back on track. The offense looking to get back on track and looking for more involvement of Aaron Jones. So we got the Packers winning that one, and that concludes our Week 5 pick'em. Our overall record so far are 31-7 for Jarrett. That's good for a 64% hit rate. Bryce had 29-19. That's good for a 60% hit rate. And then Nick and Dalton, this was their first time picking this year, so they were at a 0%. And then Mason, who was not in the episode, but as a previous pick'em record, sits at 26-22. I did not do the percentage one for that, so we'll have to get to that next week. But that wraps up the Cheap Seats Week 5 pick'em condensed. If you haven't watched full pod, I would go in and watch it. It was definitely a good episode. We did have some audio issues, but I would say it's worth the listen if you got the time. Nick said there's also supposed to be a giveaway coming out soon on the TikTok for Madden 24, so I will go and check that out as well. And besides that, that is it. I hope you have a good week. I will most likely be doing another Week 6 Pick'em condensed next week on the YouTube, so appreciate it. Have a good one.